Anthony drives one. Deep left center field. Back goes Campana to the wall. It's out of here!
Alrighty, and we are live. How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Thank you guys all so much for chiming in for the latest post-game show here in WardyNYM as we're so close to the end of spring training. I got to be front with you guys. I am completely over it. You know, the first couple weeks are great. But there's one thing that I've learned, especially after the lockout last year, which limited spring training. I like a smaller spring training. I loved being in attendance, you know, in Port St. Lucie last week, especially because I was in Miami for the WBC, but I'm over it. Like, I really am. I just want the season to start. I think all you guys do too. We're right around a week away from the season beginning. We only have this weekends left of spring training games, and then that is it. Then they have a couple days off before their first game, the 30th against Miami in Miami. But today, the Metropolitans tie the Atlanta Braves, or arch rivals, by a final score of 2-2 apiece. The game ended in just 2 hours and 8 minutes. I mean, I could have started the show at least, I don't know, 15 minutes earlier if I had everything set up. I was just finishing my editing, which is why we went a little bit later than initially scheduled. But I mean, I don't know about you guys. For everyone watching the live show, again, appreciate you guys chiming in. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button if you're a new or recurring viewer. People on replay, let me know your thoughts down below. But again, we're just talking shop because the Mets play baseball today at the end of the day. I think that's how I feel. I mean, I have very little desire to even be going over this game or anything like that, but we're going to do it still because, again, now we are getting close to the regular season in which we're going to be covering easily at over 100 Mets games this year. That is a very strong likelihood. We covered around 110 last year. We're the #1 post-game show here on YouTube, covering the Mets each and every game, and we bring in live callers at times. We bring in special guests, all that stuff. So if you guys like consistent Mets content, this is the place to be. Just a slow build right now leading into the regular season because another anticlimactic game for this Mets offense. Pete Alonso is back in the live. Jeff McNeil was not. I'd imagine Jeff will probably play tomorrow, considering he didn't play today. Mets had a lot of their starters in there, and you know it's spring training when Darren Ruff was one of the best hitters for the Mets today. He went 1 for 2 with a double. We'll get into more on the offense and everything that transpired in this matchup, but I do want to go over some updates with you guys that are positive and fun updates too regarding the Mets as a whole before we get into Mike Vasile. Who exactly is he? How do you look today pitching wise for the Mets? And, you know, just a prospect to keep an eye on going forward. But key updates today, starting with Brandon Nimmo, who again is working back from his sprained ankle and knee that he suffered on St. Patty's Day. It looks like he is already going to be back and ready to go. He's going to be playing in games probably this weekend before opening day even begins next week, because he played in a AAA game on the backfields there in Port St. Lucie today, or in Atlanta, not in Atlanta, but you know where the Braves facilities are in Florida, and he ripped a 2-run triple today. So safe to say that Brandon Nimmo is feeling good, feeling fresh, ahead of schedule, which is great. When we initially heard this over the past 48 hours from Buck Showalter, you know, saying that, you know, Nimmo's basically looking good, getting those workouts in, doing sprints and everything. He's ahead of schedule for a guy that when that injury initially happened, we were thinking the worst naturally as Mets fans, especially because it wasn't long after Edwin Diaz's season-ending injury in the WBC. So Nimmo, good strides. It looks like he's going to be potentially even back with the Mets this weekend, participating in one or multiple spring training games before spring reaches its conclusion. But more fun updates for you guys that I'm sure many of you all have seen on social media, over Twitter, or whatever it may be, is that, yes, the Mets have officially unveiled their new scoreboard, which is the biggest scoreboard in all of baseball. I'm not joking. It is 17,400 square feet total of the new scoreboard. It is 3 times larger than the old scoreboard and is the largest in Major League Baseball. So if you guys are going to be excited about seeing the highlights and the replays throughout each game on the big screen, along with the player cards and all the fun stuff that they're going to be adding, then you're going to love that Citi Field experience. I know I am. I can't wait. I love the big scoreboards. I know some people may view it as a distraction, if you will. I don't see how, as from a fan perspective, at least, how you could. I just think it's cool. I do. I love the upgrades that Steve Cohen has done with Samsung, the deal that they've had over the past couple of years. First, it was the screens around inside the stadium as a whole, you know, showing, you know, the pitches and the stuff like that, you know, ball strikes, etc. You know, players coming up. But now this scoreboard, it's filling out the entire space, in which normally on the left and right side of the scoreboard, as you've been seeing the highlights, normally you have the ads there, but they're still ads. They're not digital, right? They were just normal still ads, posters, whatever you want to call them. Now the entire thing is digital, which is very cool. Along with that, they unveiled to all season members for the Mets today the new food that they have. They have a lot of really nice eats that I saw. I saw they have some stuff with kimchi. I saw that they have these really good looking tuna tacos. I'm not a tuna fan, but they look bussin'. So if I'm praising it, it's a good thing. The biggest thing that caught my attention food wise was they have a like spicy chicken sandwich, like a honey chicken sandwich that its buns are donuts. Is it terrible for you? Probably, more than likely. Am I going to absolutely dog those bad boys when I'm at Citi Field this year? Absolutely. So yeah, plenty of new foods to enjoy. Citi Field is known for having that diversity among its food. So a lot of new selections. And they also unveiled that, if in case you guys didn't see, all the new giveaways that they're going to have throughout the year from bobbleheads. The biggest one to me was a Francisco Lindor bobblehead. I forget the date of it, but it's like a chia pet where you have Lindor, fielding the ball, right? But then the grass around it, you can actually grow the grass yourself. It's so cool. It's literally a living plant. That is a bobblehead. Very, very cool. And then you get, they have some dope Mets hats. I know that they're going to have a Mets hockey jersey and a football jersey giveaway this year. I really want to try to get the hockey jersey, or if they do a basketball one too, maybe that as well. But a lot of fun giveaways. They're also doing a Black Panther themed bobblehead with Starling Marte. Very sick. And Mr. and Mrs. Met stuff. So cool stuff. And again, I'm not going to get too much on a tangent here, but given the fact that this is a spring game in which the game's tied, I feel like I have the right to talk about this for the first handful of minutes in the show. Need Frank the Tank on the show? No, we do not need Frank the Tank on the show, Andrew. They already have a podcast to have him on. Maybe one day, but if Frank can be rational, then I will consider it. But the likelihood of that happening throughout a normal 162 is very unlikely. I've said a lot about Frank him and I interact every now and then on Twitter as is. But now let's get into this ball game, guys. All right. So we went over all the updates, another anticlimactic game in spring. We're all fed up. We just want the season to start. And trust me, I'm on board with you all. Mike Vasil today, though, was definitely the story. So for those that don't know, Mike Vasil, or Vasil, if I'm saying his last name wrong, I apologize, Mike. He is the 11th ranked prospect in the Mets system, was just drafted over the past couple of years. And in the 8th round, and he hasn't pitched above A ball, and he went out today. He, aside from the home run he eventually gave up to Matt Olson the second or third time around, he struck out Olson on 3 pitches. He struck out Acuna on 3 pitches. He got Ozzie Albies, I'm pretty sure, to ground into a pivotal double play ball. Mike out of nowhere, looking really strong. So I don't know where he's going to be starting the year. I'd imagine it still might be in high A, if not starting in double A. But another pitching prospect for the Mets, along with him, Calvin Ziegler, who actually just had surgery recently on bone spurs in his right elbow. So he's going to be out for a period of time, unfortunately, with that. But Ziegler, still playing potential. The guy who we know that hasn't pitched since 2019, that was a coveted Mets prospect pitching-wise, is, of course, Matthew Allen. So I'm taking him out of the discussion right now because he just is not going to be available for a long time. That's even assuming he stays in the Mets organization. But then you, of course, have Dominic Hamill, who is the first player interview that we've actually done on the channel as part of our podcast, myself, Anthony Recker, and Joe Sorallo. That was a lot of fun. I'm sure I'm blanking on at least one more. A Blade Tidwell, who the Mets just drafted last year. Really, really solid pick. Got him, and I believe in the 2nd round when he was viewed as a first-round type prospect, 2nd or 3rd round. So a lot of the Mets definitely need to build more depth in the pitching front for their prospect pool, because they've traded away a lot of it over the years in the JT Gins of the world, not the Adam Allers, because he was a late bloomer, Rule 5 pick that just blossomed and did well, was part of that deal with JT Ginn to the A's last offseason ago for Chris Bassett. But then you look at the Simone Woods Richardsons, who's might have a good year now with the Twins after being dealt as part of the Jose Barrios trade. Was initially the Marcus Stroman trade with the Mets. Anthony Kay, a Long Islander, southpaw, who hasn't really done too much in his pro career, unfortunately for him. But overall, the Mets have traded away a lot of their pitching prospects. So they definitely need to build more depth on that front in this upcoming draft. But again, Mike is a sleeper pick to watch this year, because the Mets do still have some solid arms there in the minor leagues and the single and the double A's, etc. So with that being said, Mike Vasil starts his first spring start today because Cookie Carrasco, who was initially going to start, instead Cookie was supposed to actually pitch in a AAA game today, but that was pushed because they're just managing his elbow, something that the Mets have done in the past. I'm not I'm not loving to hear that, but at the same time, I don't expect Cookie to start every fifth day this year. So it's just one of those things that we'll be paying attention as the year goes on. Nolas Vasil starts the day off with a clean first inning. Austin Riley had a base knock against him in the first, but that was it. And again, Austin Riley, who isn't he hitting, right? Michael, I'm doing great. How are you, my man? Again, appreciate everyone chiming in the live chat, guys, watching live or on replay. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. You guys are OGs if you're watching, especially as I break down a tied effing spring training game. I mean, I can't wait for the season to start, guys. I'll talk more about that shortly after I get through the ball game here. But we get into the second inning. Mets don't do anything in the first. Darren Ruff with 2 outs rips a double. I mean, I don't know if the Braves are purposely doing this to try to make sure Ruff cracks the roster. I mean, more nightmare fuel for Frank the Tank that we were discussing here in the show. Ruff is someone that I do not believe deserves to be on this team personally. And what's interesting is that Buck Showalter made a comment today and said that I know that Ruff has had it rough in spring. You know, it's been a tough go around for him, only batting like 110, 115, 150, whatever it is. But he's batting 600 with a couple home runs, you know, in the backfields. So my reaction to that was, Buck, I know that you're a sweetheart and you're always just trying to boost confidence of players. So I'm sure that's what it was. But that comment comes off as the equivalent to me saying that, yeah, I hit absolute bombs when my nephews throw me BP, underhand BP at literally 2 miles per hour. Like, what are we comparing here? I mean, Ruff has a beat up wrist still, not fully healthy there, is going to deal with it for probably the majority of the season. Got a shot, still not feeling 100% on that front. And I understand that spring only means so much. Trust me, I'm well aware of that. But Ruff is someone where he's basically competing for a spot. He shouldn't be guaranteed a spot. So I'll just say this. If he's on the roster to start the year over Vientos, it better simply be because the Mets want to make sure Vientos gets consistent reps and doesn't want him to be developed as a platoon guy. If that's the reason, then I will live with it. I might not be happy with it, but I can live with it. And there also better be a leash with Ruff too, similar to Robinson Cano last year, right? First 20 games was on the team, got DH time, you know, not DHing every day, but got time there. And then when he wasn't doing well, they eventually cut him. I mean, if Steve Cohen is willing to cut the $20+ million they still owed Cano, then I'm pretty sure that he would be willing to cut a far lesser in salary in Darren Ruff. The Mets are also trying to save face too because of how lopsided that trade has been. But again, hindsight is 2020. So final remarks I'll share on Ruff for now. So he had the double there in the second. Then we get to the bomb the second. The Seal with another clean inning surrenders a base hit to Travis d'Arnaud. Former Met now turned Mets killer that we've seen over the past couple of years, but that's all that she wrote there. So gave up 2 hits, but that's it. 2 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, and 0 walks throughout the first 2 innings. Then we get to the third, Danny Mendick with a walk. Tomas Nido, who is quietly having a phenomenal spring training. Nido rips a double. He has 3 doubles and 3 home runs this spring. If you look at Nido's overall numbers this spring in his limited time, he's batting roughly 400, well over 1,000 OPS. I hope that this translates. If we get a Tomas Nido even batting like 265, I'll even take 250. From 250 to 275. If we get him anywhere in that range and he continues to hit for opposite field, Mets are going to have a ginormous increase in production from the catching position. We know how good Tomas Nido was in the clutch last year with runners in scoring position, was phenomenal. And granted, albeit it wasn't a huge sample size because how many times was he in those opportunities, you know, as a 9 hitter, right? And wasn't playing every day. But still, Nido's had a stellar spring. Narvaez is coming back from the WBC, is getting some base hits here or there. So interesting. I'm happy for Nido. He's playing really, really well. That's what I will say on that front. But now let's get into Nido gets that double. Eduardo Escobar, who went 0 for 4 today, is batting right around 100 in spring. Small sample size too, just over 300 OPS. Has he been playing good? No, not at all. Do I believe Brett Beatty deserves and should be the starting third baseman? Yes, I should. Yes, I do believe that. And also, I am hoping to have a video out on the Brett Beatty front in the next 24 to 48 hours. So stay tuned for that one because there was a big update that came out on Brett Beatty that I feel like is going past a lot of Mets fans. But I want to talk about it in a singular video. You can read up on it, but I want to break it down more because Again, if Brett Beatty is not on this roster, if he's not starting opening day, but he's on this roster, I will certainly live with that. But he's in all position right now to be the Mets starting third baseman. You can't tell me otherwise. I love Eddie. He's great. But at this point, Eddie, I'm like, I want you as a DH platooning, utility guy, and being the Mets, unofficial mascot, because you're an absolute beauty of a hype man. We love you, Eddie. I don't want you off the team. I just don't want you starting third base every day. And I think that's a fair argument to be had here. I don't really even think it is an argument, but here I am talking to a camera, so I don't know. Okay, so you get Eduardo Escobar with an RBI sac fly, Starling Marte with an RBI sac fly. How's JV Spring? Really, really sharp until his last start, in which he had 6 walks, like out of nowhere. But overall, JV has been very strong this spring. In the bottom of the third, Arcia, who's expected to start at shortstop, believe it or not, for the Braves this year. No, it's not going to be Vaughn Grissom. The defense still needs work. He's going to be starting the year in AAA. They also have another shortstop prospect who the Braves actually like a bit. Actually might even get the upper hand over Grissom at some point this year. I'm just blanking on the young man's name, so I apologize, Braves fans that are watching this, because I know some of you guys definitely watch the show and will throughout the regular season. But yeah, they're going with Orlando Arcia. They're giving him a shot to see what he can do because he has more defensive upside. And they also want to have Andrianza as basically the backup infielder there to keep on the bench. So after he gets a single, Olsen rips a 2-run home run. So we saw Vasil make Olsen and Acuna look silly in the first couple innings, but Olsen's second time around was like, yeah, that isn't happening again. Matt Olsen does what he does best, and it's a 2-run home run, a tied ball game. Austin Riley with a base knock afterwards. Same thing with Marcell Ozuna, everyone's favorite MLB player. Braves staying classy on the Ozuna front. If you know, you know. After that, Harris with a double play to end. So thankfully, even though he got hit around quite a bit, Vasil, for a guy that hasn't played above single A, I got to give him a massive pat on the back. 3 innings of 6 hit ball, 2 earned runs. How many walks? Did he even have any walks? No walks. I mean, that's impressive as shit to me. 3 strikeouts. Yeah, I'll take that all day, Mike. Shout out to you. Again, this is your first Mets spring debut, and this is how you perform. You had the control down. I think that's impressive for where he's at in his career. I don't care what anyone says. That's definitely not a negative. So shout out to you, Mike. Very solid start today for the Mets here in spring. So afterwards, Eliza Hernandez would come in, a man who has not had a good spring at this point. Viewed as a swing man, will start the year in AAA, could eat some innings, has not looked good in spring at all. Today, however, changed the script slightly against a Braves team that still had a good portion of their lineup out there in the 4th inning. A 1-2-3 inning there for Eliza Hernandez. Then we get to the 5th. Lavender, the southpaw who will be starting the minor leagues for the Mets, issued 2 walks but escapes that jam unscathed there in the 5th inning. Then we get to the 6th and the 7th. And then we have Reyes, not Jose, of course, another Reyes, who is a pitching prospect for the Mets, minor leaguer, had 2 scoreless innings, only surrendering 1 hit. If you're wondering why I'm talking about the pitchers each inning here, it's because the Mets didn't do jack offensively afterwards. The Mets only had 3 hits today, and their only runs were from sac flies. So again, nothing offensive, nothing short of anticlimactic when evaluating this Mets ball game on the offensive front. But we get then to the 8th inning. Grant Hartwig, who went from single A all the way to AAA last year, looked phenomenal, had a 2.5 or so ERA all year long. Hartwig had a 1.238. He's a pitcher to watch because I assure you he will be making his Mets debut this year. That's an almost guarantee, just a matter of when, based on injuries and inconsistencies, things of that nature, which of course will happen with the bullpen as they do with every team throughout a normal 162. Hartwig with a 1.238 with 1 strikeout, and then Clenny, because we all know who Clenny is for the Mets, cue the sarcasm, comes in and he has himself a clean 9th inning as well, a 1.23 and cleanest strikeout also. So bullpen wise, that's why as a whole, that's the stars of the game today. There really isn't anything more that needs to be emphasized on that front. I mean, there wasn't much going on. When you look at the Mets offensively as a whole, they have 3 hits today to the Braves 7. This was the Mets total lineup. Let's just go through the script here. And then there's 1 or 2 more things I want to share before we wrap things up. And again, appreciate everyone watching. My 100+ live viewers for a spring tie. Love you guys to death. Make sure you continue to smash those buns. Eduardo Escobar, 0 for 4 today with the sac fly. He's batting 115 this spring. Brett Beatty did not get an at bat, but he's batting 333 this spring, right around 1,000 OPS. Starling Marte, 0 for 3 today with the sac fly, batting 261. Lindor, 0 for 4, still batting 286 because, again, it's spring and he's had a small sample size too. Urame, no at-bats today, batting 314. Alonso, 0 for 4 today, batting 240 this spring. Doesn't matter. Vientos, no at-bats today, 283 average. Leads the Mets with 11 RBIs this year for a Metropolitan spring team that on this spring has been arguably the worst team in all baseball, aside from the Cleveland Guardians, who I think have one less win. There's a couple more teams I'm probably blanking on too. Marlins have to be worse, right? I'd hope. I don't know. Because they start off terrible. I know that. Mark Canha, 0 for 4 today, batting 227 this spring. DJ Stewart, no at-bats, but 385. Darren Ruff, 1 for 2. Darren Ruff got the average all the way up to $160. Good for him. Daniel Vogelbach, batting 229, 0 for 1 today. He was not able to get an effing hit. If you know, you know. Tommy Pham, 0 for 3 today, 143 batting average, who has been absolutely god-awful this spring. Can't tell me otherwise. I mean, the guy is literally putrid defensively when he's been utilized. Even in the corner, he doesn't look good. And offensively, he's just swinging through. I mean, dude, he faced the southpaw today, who I don't even remember who it was for the Braves. Schuster, I want to say is his name. And dude, the guy threw him like sliders out of the zone, like away as a lefty, and he was doing freaking karate hacks at it. Like, I don't know. Yeah, Schuster. Yeah, Schuster pitched 6 innings, looked really sharp against the Mets today. I mean, Timmy LaCastro is my 4th outfielder. I'm going to keep beating that drum as long as I can. Timmy's batting 310 this spring. Denny Mendick, 1 for 2 with a run, 217 average. Aruz did not bat. That's fine. He does have a 250 average. Tomas Nido batting 378, as we discussed. And Martin Perez. Is it Martin? No, not Martin Perez. Is it Michael Perez? I think it's Michael Perez. The Mets catcher in AAA, batting a cool 067. So that's all that. And the Braves, again, they have the majority, if not all, their starters in the live today, actually. So overall, for what it was, it is what it is. You know, not going to harp on much more than that. I also don't know for certain guys if we'll be covering the Rays game tomorrow. I guess we'll kind of play it by ear. Also, depending on when I'm trying to get this Brett Beatty video out, because it's definitely a bigger priority now than I would say covering a spring training game. Let's be real. So keep an eye out for that. Hoping to have it out in the next day or two. If it's not out in the next day, then I'm hoping to have it out by sometime over the weekend based on timing. And I just want to fill you guys in. We are working on some really awesome and exciting things for the channel as we speak and for the podcast. There's a lot of moving parts going on. I'm hoping that everything will be set in stone by opening day, but rest assured, post-game shows, big upgrade this year. Nice upgrade too. Post-game shows, stay tuned for that. Podcast, big upgrade coming. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, that's really it. This season is going to be hectic. We're going to be covering the majority of Mets games, so stay tuned for that. But the podcast, we're working on a lot of things right now that we're excited about. There's just a lot of good that is coming that I'm excited to share with you all. Excited for you all to see yourselves once you're chiming into the content here. You know, we have big goals this year on WardyNYM. I have big goals personally with covering this Mets team, and you know, always wanting to up the ante. You know, last year was our first year doing post-game shows because year 1 of WardyNYM was doing in-game watch parties, which we actually may start to do a little bit more, sprinkling them in throughout the year, as long as not dealing with too much lagging and stuff like that. But we started post games for the first time last year. Tremendous amount of success. Did I think 110 of them last year. Going live after every single game, having live callers in, talking, and it'll be longer than, you know, on average, the post games will be longer than 20, 30 minutes that we've been doing this spring. I'm going to cut these off for people on replay usually, but they're going to be longer. The formatting is going to be different. I'm just very excited. Was on a call for multiple hours yesterday working on things for the channel, and I'm just very pumped and very excited for you guys to see the new looks that the channel will be having this season. So, guys, I love you all to death. Thank you all for your support. Let's see. How do you feel about Francisco Alvarez going to AAA for the Mets? I think that's exactly what was going to happen. That we knew that pretty much for a while now. Needs to work. You know, the defense looked really strong this spring, but needs to get back, you know, to the bat skills that we've seen. Was pressing bit in spring, still coming back from his ankle injury. So yeah, that was pretty much fully expected. But Guys, love you all to death. Thank you so much for watching live or in replay. Stay tuned for more great Mets content. We should have something out tomorrow, whether it's a live stream or a singular video. And then that might be it for the week, unless we come out with something over the weekend that is yet to be determined. And then next week, the build up to the regular season. So thank you guys all so much. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.